What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem. I'm Dave Smith, and he is Robbie the Fire Bernstein. What's up, brother? How are you?
Doing well. Had a fun stretch of shows in California, and the Porch Tour continues, my friends. Savannah, Atlanta, Birmingham, Alabama, and then taking a weekend off.
Ooh, Robbie Bernstein's Southern strategy coming into play. Very good. I am, as you guys may have seen, I'm not at home. I'm on vacation. I apologize for the, I know this is not the best camera angle, but this was the best I could do. I'm sorry. Anyway, I also in advance apologize if there's noise. I got a house full of kids here. It's like my kids and my sister's kid and stuff. And this room has a lot of windows, but it's like rainy and gloomy. And so anyway, if I'm not good quality, it's because there's not very good light in this room. But I don't know. This is my first time I've ever been on a vacation with the kids and the weather's just bad. And you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do with these maniacs? Like you rely on the beach and the pool and all this stuff that you're like, and they're like at an age where like they're too young to like go to a movie theater or something like that. You know what I mean? So they're just sprinting around like maniacs inside.
Yeah,
so we'll see how that goes.
Not much vacation when you got to be stuck with your kids indoors and just try and entertain them. You're like, I'm supposed to be off right now. This sucks. There's
no vacation. Is that great old Louis C.K. joke where he's the thing about packing up the whole car and getting the kids in, and then he is closing the door on your wife, and then he walks around the car to go get in the driver's seat, and he goes, that's his vacation, just the walking around.
I feel so bad for my dad in this regard. There's nothing I mean, maybe I could apologize as an adult, but I mean, I'm 36 and I am single. I don't take vacation. I mean, I travel a bunch for work, but I'm not spending money on vacation. My dad worked really hard, and once a year, I guess we'd go away somewhere for a couple days. And I just remember myself as a shitbag high school kid, basically just sitting there the whole time going, this sucks. I want to go home. This sucks. Why am I stuck with my sisters? And just being like a 45-year-old guy taking your 3 days off from work that you paid so hard. You know what I mean? Yeah. You work so hard just to be on vacation with your kids, to have some shitbag just sitting there going, I want to go home. This sucks.
Yeah, it's amazing how much almost every argument you had with your parents when you were a teenager, you look back and you go, man, my side does not hold up well. Like I was just living there rent free, huh? Yeah, I guess I could have been cool. No, it's, well, anyway, I don't know, dude, that's like, just as you were saying, I don't know, this got me off on just thinking about a tangent, but it's like, yeah, if you're single, like I never took a vacation before I had family. It's strictly for the kids. That's why you take a vacation. But I think that's the correct attitude to have. I don't think you're supposed to, like I know, you ever see there's like couples, I mean like I'm talking like not married without kids who like go to Disney regularly.
Well, they're all pedophiles. No adult should go to Disney. Find something else. Everyone thinks you're disgusting. The people have their personality where like Disney's their thing every year. And I couldn't sooner think that you should be removed from the voting pool.
Dude, there's, well, look, I'll say, I know people like this. I don't even want to say like what job they do, because in case they ever listen to this, I don't want them to be thinking,
how much you secretly disdain them.
Well, it's not even, look, it's not disdain. It's really not. It's something else. But it's like, there are a lot of people, I think, who kind of have the mentality that like, look, you have a job. They have, even some of these people I know have like good jobs, and then like when they're off work, it's like, I'm off work. I clock out. I sit on the couch. I have a beer. I watch the game. You know what I mean? I go to the Giants game on Sunday or whatever, it's like, just, that's kind of the mentality. And I do think, especially for like the younger men who listen to our show, it is something where it's like that mentality, I think, used to work. Like there was once upon a time in the United States of America where it was kind of like you go and you wait online at the factory or whatever, and you get a job. And if you have a good job, you can afford to buy a house and have some kids. Your wife doesn't have to work. You can, you know what I mean? You can go on vacation in the summer. You could play poker on the weekends, whatever it is, just kind of like the American life. And I think that doesn't exist anymore. And if you're just kind of like, hey, I clock into work, I clock out of work, and then I relax and I catch a game or I play poker or whatever it is, it's like you're going to be struggling forever. And the only way to do it now is like, but like the flip side of that is like now you have the opportunity to hustle more than ever before. You know, I was just reading, I read this stat, and I don't know exactly how accurate this is, but I literally just happened to read the other day that 45% of Americans have a side hustle now, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But there's never been a time where it was easier, or not easier isn't the right word, where it was more possible to have a side hustle. Like whatever the thing is you do, you can kind of do that. And I do just think that, you know, one of the things, a lot of it's living in like a high price inflation world, is that it's like, yeah, no, if you just sit back and be like, I'm just doing what I was supposed to do, loosely speaking, you're going to fall behind. You're going to get to a point where you're like, you know what I mean? Like you're just not going to set up a good life for yourself. But, you know, whatever. I sit here like bitching and moaning about it. It's like there's been much worse times to be alive. It's not like there's a war on and there's a draft going on and that's just that. It's like nowadays, it's like you do have the opportunity to hustle in a way that you never really had before. And it's all going to be about like what your mentality is. If your mentality is like, I'm going to level up and then level up again and then level up from there and then level up from there, you're going to make it. And if your mentality is like clock in, clock out, you're going to get left behind. That's kind of the way I think about the world today. Well, you're a good example of that, Rob. You're constantly hustling.
Trying, taking over the world one porch at a time.
But I saw some of the pictures you posted. It looks cool, man. And I heard people have a great time on that porch tour. So go check it out. Porchtour.com.
We've been having a good time. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, or at least that's the way I operate.
Yeah. No, it's kind of, I think you kind of have to these days. So anyway, all right, I guess let's start today. This might be a little bit of a shorter episode. I apologize for that, but I am.
You have 3 minutes till the kids are just running around throwing cereal all over the place.
I'm starting to smell smoke. Someone started a fire downstairs. Let me make this quick. Yeah. So I guess the big news right now, of course, is we're in the middle of this massive propaganda campaign, which has been quite entertaining for me personally to watch. I just think it's like this one, the Kamala Harris propaganda campaign is one that I'm looking at and just going to myself like, wait, they think this can work? They really like, you know, okay, yes, the most unpopular vice president in American history has been transformed into a cultural phenomenon and a charismatic leader, and everybody's so excited about her and whatever. It's wild to watch. As I'm staying firm in my position that this is 100% astroturfed bullshit. None of this is real. But so much of our, you know, reality in this country is not real these days. But anyway, so she picked her vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, and that's been the kind of what's dominating the news cycle over the last 24 hours or so. So this, I guess, you know what, let's start with, just to get a little taste of what this propaganda campaign has been like and how absurd it is. Here's Mike Barnicle over at MSNBC.
You know, Joe, that's a very interesting observation that you just pointed out, the Reagan campaign of 1980. Watching the coach, and I'm going to call him the coach from now until Election Day, watching the coach yesterday and watching the vice president yesterday, it was mesmerizing in the sense that it's been a while since I've seen a rally like that, either on TV or in person. And watching it, you could just sense the power in the hall. And it was the power of joy, the power of laughter, the power of hope for the future, but especially the power of those who were in the hall and those who were thinking or considering voting for this ticket, the vice president and the coach. For those considering voting for the ticket, giving them the power to think that they're participating in something that will put a smile on your face. It's been a long time since any aspect of American politics has put a smile on anyone's face. And these two people yesterday managed to put a smile on the nation's face.
Is he transitioning to become an old lady?
Yeah, I guess so. There you have it, Mike Barnacle, two what can only be described as Jesus-like figures, holding a rally that just, it warms the soul of the American spirit. And I mean, Rob, I got to go back to Ronald Reagan's 1980 campaign. I just can't think of an example where there was like a big political rally that put a smile on a lot of people's face. Say perhaps like, you know, the 35,000 that Donald Trump's done since he's been running for president. Rob, can you think of the last time there was an image in your mind of like a big rally, right, with a political figure speaking at it, and people were like smiling and laughing and enjoying themselves? But obviously, if you think of that, what comes to mind is Kamala Harris. That's like, what world are we living in? It's just so bananas. Like, it's just funny to watch this where I'm like, this can't possibly work. This can't possibly be sold. And man, if this does end up working, my God, then the whole thing is just fake, and they can just create anything out of thin air, because this is so like, it's so wild to have these people, first of all, go right from how phenomenal Joe Biden is and the cheap fakes and that the economy's so good, you just don't know it. Sharp as attack, all this stuff. Admitting he just pooped his pants. Okay, yes, we have to put the president in a senior home, but you know this other VP who we were all skipping over because she's so wildly unpopular? Oh, she has the it factor now. And oh, there's a new VP candidate, you know, the guy who none of you have ever heard of before in your life, except for the last 24 hours. He's, I mean, a transformative figure. He's essentially the next Obama. I know he looks like a fat dad to you, but don't let that mess with you. No, this is putting a smile on America's face in a way no one else has before. By the way, while there is kind of this X factor that's looming over this new race, which is that, you know, the markets, like the S&P and the NASDAQ, both lost like 1,000 points the other day. There's some pretty, there's some question marks right now about whether we might be entering into a real economic downturn. And if that's the case, that would be the major story in this election. Kamala Harris is the VP, and you're not going to distance yourself that much from look, John McCain couldn't distance himself from the financial recession of George W. Bush because it was like, you're a Republican too. But Kamala Harris is the vice president of this. That changes things drastically. But no. The story here is about this charismatic vice presidential pick whose name we all just learned.
It's fun because bullshit has no metrics. So this is like describing the soul of the nation. How can I possibly quantify the soul of the nation? I wasn't there. Can I tell you the energy of the crowd and whether or not that doesn't exist anywhere else? But it really just sounds like an old lady where instead of talking about the economics or any of the policies that might actually help the country, put smiles on people's face, but they had a nice message and we all went home with a smile on our face. There you go. It's a Sunday church lady coming home telling us about, I don't know what the preacher said, but we all had a smile on our face.
All right, guys, let's take a quick moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Lumen, the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly carbs or mostly fat. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on with your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. And because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates into a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, and much more. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts so you can keep up your energy and stave off cravings. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/problem. That'll get you 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/problem for 15% off your purchase. And of course, a big thank you to Lumen for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back into it. Yeah, well, I'll say this too, by the way, just on the on how fake this whole thing is. And I don't know, this might just be me. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but I have gotten in the last 2 weeks, I'm not exaggerating, I've gotten like at least 20 text messages like, donate to Kamala Harris. We're trying to do this for Kamala Harris. Can you send money here? Take a survey on behalf of Kamala Harris. And I've never donated money to a Democrat in my, I sent money to Tulsi Gabbard in very little, but I sent money to her. It was like back when there was like a thing where like she needed to get like a certain amount of like individual donations to be on the debate stage in 2019. So it was like, it didn't matter if you gave $1 or $20 or whatever, but it helped her. So I sent that, but I never get messages to donate to Democrats. It's just now. And so anyway, it's just clearly a part of this kind of, it's like this, the machine is making an attempt to sell you on this so that you stop asking the very obvious question, which is, you guys have been talking about how Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and democracy for years now. And January 6th was the worst thing ever because it was an attempt to overthrow democracy. And Donald Trump, if he gets in, is the end of our democracy. He'll be a dictator. We won't have elections anymore. And then the fact that you guys just basically orchestrated a coup against the sitting president of the United States and installed someone, or you're claiming she's the nominee now, although she's not technically, you're claiming she's the nominee, and as closed a primary process as you already had, you've had no primary to get her. No one has voted for her to be president. In fact, she ran for president in 2020 and dropped out before Iowa. Like and so it's like almost they have to create this artificial thing to like you said, bullshit has no metric. It's like they have to create this artificial thing so that they can kind of in some way be able to plausibly say that there is some type of ground support from the people for her, even though objectively speaking, that's never been demonstrated. That's what we're living through right now. Yeah, it's like wild.
They cooed the president, but look at the smiles on everyone's faces.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what a short period of time all of this went down in, and that we went from being like, you're a deranged, crazy right winger if you even question Joe Biden's age, to like how he's completely out of the way. We're not even talking about that anymore. But whoa, look at this next lady.
They do seem to be doing a better job with the theatrics, though, in that I guess they took from Donald Trump doing things in the round, putting the crowd behind them. And I don't know how they have the audience this well trained, but it's basically every 3 words they're there clapping, which kind of covers up for Kamala Harris's weird smile and laugh anyways, because it fills in those gaps. And then speaking to the new VP, what's his name again? I'm so bad with names. Walz. Okay. So I do think that they've put together a pretty extreme socialist ticket here. I wonder, once we start talking about the issues, how the two of them are going to do. From a purely sales standpoint, the guy's not terrible. He's got like a Gene Hackman style voice. He's got like, if you're just doing the yin and yang of, hey, who's the white guy I can put into this ticket, that kind of just makes it look like a more balanced look. I at least thus far, from the couple minutes of his speech that I've watched, I don't agree with anything that he's saying. I think all of his policies terrible. I think some of his record in his state, the tampons in the bathrooms, what happened with the George Floyd riots, the signing a bill that illegal immigrants can get licenses. It's all pretty extremely progressive. I think all the policies terrible, but just purely they seem to be doing a decent job at the moment of selling it.
Yeah, well, okay, so one of the things that's interesting about this guy, Walz, is that he is, and I think this is one of the reasons why he got picked. And it's also one of the reasons why, sorry, was that me or you? Oh,
I'm still here. I'm with you.
Okay. So I think one of the reasons why he got picked, and one of the reasons why progressives and leftists are very excited at him getting picked, is number one, he is certainly a few clicks to the left of the establishment of the Democratic Party, but it's not, I think particularly libertarians have this issue with, because libertarians are libertarians, and there's good things and bad things about our particular brand of autism, but there's one of the good things is that libertarians have really thought about policy a lot, and so that we have very good arguments that we can articulate well about why minimum wage laws undercut low skilled labor and why government spending creates corruption and like all of these things, but perhaps a more important split is something else, not whether you're for free markets or for socialism. There's a reason why, this guy, his state went for Donald Trump. I got to go check the margin, but it was a pretty substantial margin by which Donald Trump won it in 2016. And then he held on and got elected there. And it's almost like, when you read about these counties that went for Obama and then went for Trump, it's like, well, how is that exactly? Why is that? And it's certainly, you're not going to find the answer if you're looking between the split of, like, say, laissez-faire versus government intervention. That's not the deal. What it is simply like, are you speaking to issues that working people care about or not? And you may come with a kind of like a big government type solution, and someone else may come with a smaller government type solution. Like somebody might say like, hey, we're going to make sure the government picks up childcare costs or overtime or, whatever it may be. And someone else may say, hey, we're going to cut your taxes. This will be $4,000 extra in your paycheck. But you know what I mean? But at least the guy is speaking to issues that like a working class person might care about. Whereas so much of the Democratic establishment, and not even just the Democratic establishment, I mean, the Democrats I argue with on Pierce Morgan or whoever, so many of them are like, they're like January 6th, democracy, racism, just like things that are, if you're like a struggling family who's just none of this means anything to you. It doesn't speak to issues that you're actually concerned with. Whereas somebody who's more socialist leaning, whereas me and you may completely disagree with their policies because they're stupid and destructive and wrong. But at least if you're talking about the government getting you health care or education or something like that, it's at least somewhat of a bread and butter issue that you could maybe appeal to voters on. And I think at least it does seem to be like some recognition there that you're going to have something like that, because the establishment, like if you think about all of the entire establishment, Republican and Democrat, it's like, think about the Mike Pence, that's not my concern comment that got, taken. Perhaps he didn't exactly mean it that way, but still the point of why that was so damaging to him was because it's kind of like the establishment is basically like, well, look, here are the issues that really matter. Democracy, January 6th, climate change, the war in Ukraine, the war in Israel, like all these things that are totally removed from some dad who's like, I got 3 kids and I'm trying to put them through school. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I'm getting killed with price inflation. It's just like, there's issues like that are much more bread and butter issues that people actually vote on. I think these are always the things. I mean, it's the old James Carville. It's the economy, stupid. But this is what actually motivates people to vote. And so many of these social issues, particularly all the woke stuff, it was amazing. It's just, none of them learned their lesson from Donald Trump, which is like, look, if you see all of these hundreds of districts that went for Obama and then go for Donald Trump, doesn't that give you some information that it's like, oh yeah, it seems like the social issues don't really matter to them, because those guys couldn't have been more opposite personally and culturally and all of these things. But the thing they had in common is they were both looking at working class people and saying, I'm going to do stuff to make your life a little bit easier. So in that sense, I do think it was a smart pick by the Democrats to at least go to somebody who can kind of attempt to hit that Bernie Sanders, the Bernie Sanders pitch, which does resonate with some degree of people, with some percentage of people. So in that sense, I do think he wasn't a terrible pick for them.
And as a man of the people, out on porches, interacting with common folks and seeing what they're all about, I've been hearing that there's a big issue with small boys in this country of the government not providing the menstruation tools that they need. So at least there's one candidate who's willing to address this issue.
Well, there you go. Yes. Well, the other thing about Walz is evidently he was really bad on COVID. And so I suppose that I'd like to think that would hurt him to some degree, but I guess I don't
Everyone
know if
was bad, so
running,
no one's running with that talking point. And right. RFK has seemed to kill his campaign with pro-Israel talk and being bad on bears.
He's killed his campaign and evidently a bear. Listen, dude, it's so funny that RFK had to get ahead of the story too. Like he's like, listen, some stuff's going to come out about a dead bear that I put in a park. Yeah. Now, for the record, this bear was dead when I found it. I did what any normal American would do, which is pull a hilarious prank and put this dead bear in a park. You're like, what? Jesus Christ.
He's, they always say that you vote for the president you want to have a beer with. RFK is the guy that if you were having a beer with, you'd be like, whoa, what are we doing right now? Slow down.
RFK goes, hey, you know how people always say you vote for the president you want to have a bear with? And they're like, no, that's beer. And he's like, beer? Are you sure it's beer? I'm pretty sure they say the president you want to have a bear with. And they're like, no, that's beer. He goes, well, why did I just lug this bear all the way around? So it's like, I don't know. Why did you?
Hey, look, it's roadkill. Let's go eat that. Let's take it home for a barbecue.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Sheath Underwear. Say goodbye to those old pair of underwear and step up your game with Sheath, the underwear of legends. As I told you many times on this podcast over the years, Sheath Underwear is the best pair of boxer briefs you're ever going to own. They're high quality. They feel great. Sheath has been sponsoring this show for years at this point, and I still have the original pairs that they sent me. They're still in great shape all these years later. Also, they're just a great company. I love the people who work there. They've been a longtime supporter of this show, so please go support them as well. And while you're at it, get the most comfortable pair of boxer briefs you will ever own. You can get them by going to sheathunderwear.com and make sure to use the promo code problem20. That will get you 20% off your entire order. That's sheathunderwear.com, promo code problem20 for 20% off your entire order. All right, let's get back into the show. All right, anyway, sticking on the topic of the new VP candidate. Maybe I don't even know. Is he the new VP candidate? That much isn't clear. But anyway, but here is a clip of him talking about socialism.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Really, it's essentially just neighborliness, Rob. That's what socialism is. Isn't that? I mean, look, it is, to go back to so it's almost, because this is my job, because I'm libertarian day walker. But it's like, look, I understand. It's like, you got to understand, like, and libertarians should get this if you're ever trying to campaign for anything. It's, you don't lead with any of these like kind of DC, New York City style talking points that are all kind of centered around what offended very privileged people. You know, you have to like go at bread and butter issues, but then at the same time, we do, if anyone's going to be the ones, we do have to be the ones to make the arguments that actually like, no, like if somebody's advocating more socialism, that is going to screw over the working class more than any other policy. And man, it is just infuriating to see. It's like, yeah, it's like, whatever they call it, socialism. I call it neighborliness. Like neighborliness, doesn't that usually, like, wouldn't neighborliness pretty heavily imply, number one, that it's being done on a local level, and number two, that it's voluntary? Like, when is it neighborly for DC to steal half your money to give it out to their friends? That's the same. Those are basically synonymous. Just neighborliness and me extracting your wealth from you by the threat of force.
It's neighborly when the government forces an illegal immigrant to live right next to you and then take your resources and provide for that person.
Yeah, really. Well, right, exactly. I mean, it's like, so anyway, I mean, hopefully, the case can be made against this, because there really is something like incredibly dangerous about that style of message, that like, no, we're going to implement socialism, because then this is what they always say, right? It's like, what is it really except sharing? That's all we're talking about here, is sharing, being neighborly, helping people, when, this is essentially how it's been sold everywhere that it's taken root. And every single time it's a freaking disaster, because it's not just sharing or neighborliness. It's, it's institutionalized violence in an incredibly destructive way.
I'd like for the government to share with me more. Maybe it could share some of its, like a couple tanks, a little bit of public land. Just give me a nice little slice of the pie. If we're all about sharing, let's start giving away the federal land. That's it. That's just a starting point.
I would love if the government would share, would be neighborly and share with me the rest of my money that they stole. Like, that would be cool. That would be totally, I would think that would be really neighborly if you would just give me my money. I don't even need anybody else's. Just let me keep what I make. Anyway, it's truly bizarre.
It's a funny trick. Go get a tent. Go camp out outside this guy's home, and then get upset when he's not being neighborly and he doesn't let you stay there. And why won't he bring out some milk and cookies? He's got cookies in there. You just want some flour. Just every day, just knock on his door and be, hey, can I get a little toilet paper? I just took a shit on your lawn. I'm out of toilet paper. Can you be neighborly? You mind sharing a couple slices of your TP?
Well, there was a great old Thomas Sowell quote about it. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but there is something so incredibly ironic and like, not ironic, but it's just like almost, you got to be impressed with the level of propaganda, where it's like somehow me volunteering other people's resources is seen as generous, yet me saying I want to keep my own resources is seen as selfish or unneighborly or whatever. It's like, if you just think about that for a second, like the idea that if I were going to say to you, hey, I have a large group of tough men who are well armed, and we will go around shaking everyone down and taking money from them, and I'll give you a little bit of that if you support me in this mission to go shake everyone down and take their money. That's seen as civilized or neighborly or sharing. And yet, if someone else were to stand up and say, I oppose this violent group of armed men shaking everybody down, that's backward and, anti-civilized behavior or something like that. It's on the face of it, you would go, that has been one successful propaganda campaign right there. Pretty unbelievable that you could convince people up is down in that type of way. Yeah, but that's the world we live in.
I mean, it's just rephrasing what you've already said, but it's like if you own a factory you could be like, hey, I know how we can get my workers more money, quit taxing them, and then quit taxing me, and I can afford to pay them more. And guess what? Everyone at the factory will make more money.
Yeah. Right. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Anyway, this is going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how these two campaign together. Of course, Kamala Harris she just stands for nothing other than her own advancement in her career. Like, what is her policy that she actually believes in? What she believes Willie Brown's a really good looking 80-year-old or something. It has nothing to do with what she believes. It's just what advances her further and further up the ranks. And you can see that in the fact that she's walked away from everything she ran on in 2020. I mean, or 2019, whenever it is exactly that she dropped out of that race. But she was running at the time on the, decriminalizing illegal immigration and Medicare for all and just like all these policies. And she's not running on any of them because she recognized, that doesn't go over well with voters. So she'll completely change what she's running on. Healthcare isn't even coming up as an issue. So it's just, I suppose now with this being her VP, maybe that's the hat she's going to try to put on now, as being more of kind of like a populist left winger. We'll see. She
stands for smiles, and that's why she's laughing all the time.
She sure is cackling up a storm. And again, it's as we've seen over the last few weeks, it's not, look, there is excitement for Kamala Harris to some degree. There's some kernel of truth to the propaganda. And what the excitement really is, almost if you talk about to any just regular Democrat, the people who really don't like Donald Trump, and there's a large contingency of people who don't like Donald Trump, they're excited that they are unburdened, to borrow a phrase from Kamala Harris. They're excited that they're unburdened by the disaster that is Joe Biden, and they're excited that it's like, okay, at least like we don't have a president who just stiffly walks up to a plane that just landed and he is not supposed to get on. Like, okay, you don't have that guy anymore. And Kamala Harris is capable of reading off of a teleprompter. She's not terrible. She's not particularly good at it, but she's not terrible at that. She can get up and give it straight. She is, though, however, really, really bad off the top of her head. Like, if she's just answering questions, she is cartoonishly bad at that. And I think it's going to be very hard for them to get away without more moments like that. The comment on how we all need to be more woke, or just the cackling, or the stuff that's just non sequitur, makes no sense. The long rants about how space is all around us and space is here and space is there and we go to space. Russia is a big country that invaded a small country, and we don't like big countries doing bad things to small countries, because whether you're big or small, it doesn't matter if you're small or big. Like that type of stuff, it's going to be tough for her to not have some more of those. So that should provide us with some entertainment, if nothing else. But look, my bottom line takeaway from all of this is I'm still standing pretty firm on the fact that this is all Astroturfed. This is made up. This is not a wildly popular woman. This is not an electric duo, the two of them. But it is. We're in the middle of a very intense propaganda campaign. They've taken that up to 11. Just in the same way we always try to talk about these things, whether it was like the Kurds when we were going to pull out of Syria, whatever the next thing is, the lockdowns, the COVID vax, the ghost of Kiev, whatever it is. We're in the middle of one now. This is the newest one. And it's as much bullshit as all of those were. It's not based off anything. They're trying to, as they often do, will this into existence. They can almost make it real by just saying it over and over again. I don't think it's going to work, but we'll see. Okay, let's go to the Peter Doocy Jean-Pierre clip, because I did find this to be just so entertaining.
Bill could be under attack any moment from Iran. U.S. troops in Iraq were injured yesterday. Why have we not heard directly from President Biden this week? We know he met with his team yesterday. Yep. We know today's VP Harris's big day, but he's still the president. Where is he?
Well, here's the thing. You've seen the president. He has been very clear about making sure that we continue to try to de-escalate tensions. We just put out two readouts today, a readout yesterday, and our focus right now is to make sure that we continue to try to de-escalate tensions here, and that's what the president has been doing.
Isn't that pretty amazing? Peter Doocy is asking. He goes, "Hey, there was an attack, and a bunch of U.S. Servicemen were wounded." And we're sending reinforcements because we're concerned an attack on Israel is imminent. And do you think that's the type of thing the president might say something to us about? And she's like, we put out readouts. What are you talking about? He's fine. I mean, it's so wild. I mean, you just like cannot be overstated that everybody accepted. I mean, if you're just being honest with yourself, this is obviously what just happened over the last several weeks, is that Joe Biden was too senile to run for president. And when I say too senile to run for president, they were quite happy to have a senile man run for president. He was so senile, he could not win. And so they forced him out of the race because he was too senile to run for president. Yet somehow they're fine with the fact that he's senile as president and is going to be president until January. And there's so much that's interesting about that. Number one, just demonstrating the kind of the way they're able to like remove him and still have him serve as president, but also just like the information that you get out of there, which is that the powers that be are actually quite happy to have a senile president. They don't mind that at all. Probably makes life easier for everyone around him who wants to get their own agenda implemented, right? So look, if you trust Cy Hirsch's reporting, which I do, he was strong-armed out of the position. They were going to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove him from the presidency. And they backed off of that threat because he dropped out of the race. So now we're just in this kind of pretty unstable situation with a senile president. But nothing to see here, Rob. We put out a couple of readouts. So there you go.
It certainly seems awfully suspicious how unsmooth she was with that question. Wait, where's Biden? Wait, he's around. We're working on the new clones that don't have the butt chins. We'll get one out soon enough. Don't you worry.
Yeah, it is something pretty wild. So now the other thing, obviously, that I think jumps out here, which is, a point that a lot of great Americans have made for many, many decades now. Of course, the legend Ron Paul has been saying this for I don't know, probably 30 years at least. But it really does go to show. So there were several U.S. servicemen who were wounded in Iraq. None of them were killed, but it does show you how easily that could happen. And it is pretty wild that it's that nobody in D.C. ever has to coherently articulate why we need to have a military presence in Iraq. Oh, it is damn near unanimous that the war in Iraq was a mistake. We shouldn't have fought the war in Iraq. Even John McCain in his memoir acknowledged that this war was a mistake. And yet we still just have to keep a military presence there, I suppose, forever in this very volatile part of the world where there's this ongoing major conflict. And we just have to have all of our people around it to just make it much easier for this to possibly escalate and for us to get drawn into it. It's an insane policy. It makes no sense. But what's really, again, to just repeat myself, what's really crazy about it is that nobody even feels like it's not as if anyone's even putting up an argument on the other side. Why is it that we need troops in Iraq? No, Biden hasn't articulated that. Kamala Harris hasn't articulated that. Why is that anybody's position? What is the other side to this argument? They don't really have one. They don't even really feel the need to pretend to have one. It's just, I don't know. We're an empire, man. And that's what, I don't know. Our government, whatever business you think they're in the war business. That's the business they're really in. They're in the banking business and the war business. And that's just part of that business. And so, yeah, is it risking a wider conflict? Is it risking potentially a third world war? Yes. But we're not going to remove those troops. Do the Iraqi people want us there? No. Do the American people want us there? No. But we're still going to be there. And now we're sending in reinforcements for the next potential escalation in this war. For what reason? Because that's what our government is. They're in the business of war and banking. And that's that.
We fought hard to have these bases, and we get to pay ourselves a lot of money to keep them here. So, my God, we're not giving up this real estate.
Yeah, really. It's like, what? I swear to God, it's like you wish we could just offer the military industrial complex like a fake military industrial complex. Like, it's like, how about you guys can keep your money, but we just make you toy weapons and you just go, play make-believe war. Like, just go off, a few miles off the coast in the ocean, and you guys can just do pretend war and everything like that. You keep your no-bid contracts, you keep all this stuff, it's fine, but you just don't get to have real war. You don't get to send real men with guns into third world countries for no reason. Let's see if maybe they would go for that. I don't know. I can't say for sure. All right, let's before we get out of here, let's go to the Fetterman video, because I found this pretty entertaining as well.
Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, or a couple of really weird dudes. And look, I gotta tell you, I work with J.D. Vance. I do. And I'm here to confirm that he is a seriously weird dude.
I mean, it's unbelievable how much I don't know where this propaganda, where the new talking point that they're weird exactly came from. It's such a bizarre step down from their fascist Hitler figures or whatever. I think it's after Donald Trump got shot. They were like, well, we can't take the rhetoric up that much anymore, but we got to find something. So this is what we're going to say in unison. But I mean, come on, Fetterman is going to sit here and say another guy's weird. The senator who shops for his wardrobe at Modell's is going to come and say other people are weird. This big oaf. Really? I don't know, Rob. What can you say about this?
You're watching a human ogre who should not have his job yelling at us about how other people are weird. There's no joke to be told.
It's just unbelievable. And there is, as I said, look, I do find JD Vance to be a little bit weird. Donald Trump, I think weird is an undeniably, objectively correct description of him. He is different than any other human being I've ever seen. But it's like they're parading out the party of freaks is parading out every weirdo they have to call them weird.
I might as well be out in the world accusing people of being bald.
Yeah, really. It's just like such a bizarre thing. Like they didn't at any point think to themselves like, we may have lost the right to play the weird card. Like maybe we should play some other card. But this is what they've settled on. It's that has not stopped. Like we played the montage last week of all these people calling them weird in unison, but that has not stopped. It's continued.
And it's so funny because like it turns into Dumb and Dumber, where what are you going to sit there and go, no, you're weird. No, you're extra weirder. No, you're even weirder. And then that becomes the debate. So it'd be nice to maybe see the Republicans be smart enough to go, all right, you can call us weird, but why don't we actually talk about these policies?
Yeah. It's all you got to do is go is something along the lines of like, I don't know, maybe I am a little bit weird, but there's nothing weird about the people I represent wanting to be proud Americans and wanting to have a better life for their kids than they had. And what's a lot more important than whether people are weird is whether their life is affordable or not. So what do prices look like on video?
Yeah, the weird people are going to build a wall and bring down prices. So what do you prefer?
Yep, that should be the response, and then of course there's never, it's the Republicans will always find a way to like seize, loss, whatever, pry a loss out of the jaws of victory. Well, I'm not saying that right, but anyway, but it's like, of course they probably will not be able to be have anywhere near the message discipline that Democrats have on this type of stuff. If nothing else, again, I know I made this point the other day, but it's worth repeating. Is that if there's one thing you do gotta like respect about the entire establishment, and when I say that I mean the establishment of the Democratic Party and the corporate media and Hollywood and academia and all these people, is like their message discipline is just incredible. Like when they decide that this is the line, everybody falls in line and goes, that's what we're saying. That is what we're saying for and there is probably something about being the more kind of collectivist group that allows you to do that, because there's so little individualism within that entire thing that you don't have anyone kind of going like, I don't like that talking point. I don't really agree with that. I want to say something else. I don't want to say that. It's like everyone just falls in line. What's the word? Weird? We're going with weird? Okay. Weird. What's that? Sharp as attack? No problem, boss. Sharp as attack, sharp as attack, sharp as attack. It's like unbelievable. You watch these compilations. Tom Elliott on Twitter, who's a great Twitter follow. He's probably the best that I've seen at like those montages that just show all of it. But it's unbelievable. Like no matter what the crisis or what the thing was, whether it's COVID or Ukraine or Israel or, Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or whatever it is, he always has these like compilations. They all say the exact same thing. They get their orders. This is the angle we're going with. And everyone follows through on it. And I will say, as I mentioned before, as someone who was very involved in the Libertarian Party and the Mises Caucus takeover of it, I do a little bit. I have a little bit of envy over their message discipline. Like, man, I wish I just could get my entire team to just be like, this is what we're saying now. I promise you, I'd say way better shit than JD Vance's weird. I got way better messaging than that. Anyway, okay, we're gonna wrap on that one. I apologize. I know it's a few minutes short of an episode. We will be back tomorrow. We will have the members only episode on partoftheproblem.com. Of course, that's where all of our episodes stream now, uncensored, ad free, and live streaming on partoftheproblem.com. Please go over there and sign up if you can. And then tomorrow you get the bonus episode. I will be, and then that'll be the last one on vacation. I'll be back home after that and back in the studio, so you'll get better video and audio. But thanks everybody for listening. Go check Rob out on the road, porchtour.com, and then of course go to comicdavesmith.com for we're going to be back out on the road in a couple weeks here. Hyenas in Fort Worth and Dallas is the next stop. Looking forward to that one. So catch you guys out there. And we also please go subscribe to the new Clips channel that we made at Dave Smith Clips. It's a new YouTube channel that we just created, putting clips from this show and lots of my other appearances up on there. So that's good content, and it's designed to be kind of like easier for you guys to like share around with people and stuff like that. So please go give us a subscribe and click that notification bell or whatever it is you're supposed to do. All the stuff you're supposed to do on YouTube. All right. Catch you guys next time. Peace.